Hello everyone, welcome back to Gab's Collection. Today I will be unboxing a huge box of 49 vintage Kenner Star Wars action figures. I ordered this about a week ago and I got a pretty good deal for them, so let's open this up. Okay, now this is my big box of 49 figures and I really cannot wait to get this open because this will go a long way to me completing the whole set of 100 or 90 something, depending on how you look at it, but 49 plus the ones I already have, I think I'm almost there. So let's get this open. Okay, starting off strong. Here we have Hammerhead, which was released with the original Star Wars film, which is now called A New Hope, and he has a sort of sidewards glance that I didn't really notice in images, but yep. And he's got some sculpted veining, a lot of veining there. Makes him look quite tense. Yep, that's Hammerhead. So I don't know if I should stand them up because I feel like by the end of the video I won't have enough space to stand them all up anyway, but let's just do that for now. Now we have Bossk, the bounty hunter. He has a glossy sheen on his head, which makes him look a bit slimy, which I guess is the intention. He's got some scaly arms and legs, and bright yellow jumpsuit. And I must say now that most of them don't have their weapons, and I think only a couple of them do. But I'm not really concerned with that so much because I can buy reproduction weapons. Yeah, I'm not a purist. I don't reject reproductions as long as they look right, except for figures. I want original figures, of course, but with weapons, I don't really mind. Now, I can't remember the exact name of this figure, but he is an Imperial officer. I'll put up the name. If it's not Imperial officer, I'll put up the name on the screen now, but yep, just a very generic Imperial officer here. Some paint rubs at the back of the head. Yeah, and at the front of the cap as well, but the facial features are all intact, so that's always good. Nothing else to say about this. So he was cast in black plastic, and most of the figure is black, so there's not really much paint to rub off anyway. That insignia there is still intact in terms of paint, so that's good. And his belt apparently is a separate piece, and that's intact and fastened tightly. So I'll stand him up there. Up next we have this Hoth rebel, who at first I thought was Luke Skywalker on Hoth, but apparently that's a completely different figure. But I've heard that in the old days kids did use this as a Luke Hoth figure before the actual Luke Hoth figure came out. So this one is slightly sticky, which I found with some of my other vintage Star Wars figures. I still don't know what that is. Let me know if you know what that stickiness means. But yeah, paintwork on this is still intact. Looks mostly shiny and pristine aside from that stickiness, but it looks quite presentable. Next up we have Han Solo, one of the first 12 figures. So this is Han Solo from the original Star Wars movie, and it's the big head variant, which came out later after the original small-headed Han Solo variant, and I think his head is a bit too big. Some people say that's a perfect size, but the head's too big. And he has weird coconut hair, which I'm not a fan of, but it is one of the original 12 figures, so I am happy to have it in my collection. Some paint rubs at the back of his head, paint rubs around the hair at the front as well. His facial features are fading away slightly, but yeah, they're mostly intact. You can still sort of make out the face anyway, so that's fine. And he's sculpted in such a way that his arm is bent to hold his blaster, so he shoots from the hip, but since he doesn't have his blaster on him right now, he looks kind of odd, just, like holding his hand out like that. He still has the red lines on the side of the pants, so that's still good. So this one doesn't go all the way down, obviously, because the holster and belt are there, so that's supposed to be like that, I guess. Yeah. First 12. There. Stand him up there. And now we have Bespin Leia. Now, this one is not in the best shape, so it has a lot of paint rubs and chips on the hands there, and her eyebrows are gone, but the eyes and mouth are still intact paint-wise. A lot of rubbing on the hair, and also she doesn't come with her vinyl cape, which I think will be very difficult to find because of its very specific color and the design on it, unlike the other ones where you could just go for a brown vinyl, but with this one it's a pink, I believe, or a very light pink or white color with some detailing, so that will be very difficult to find a replacement for. I'd have to buy it. I wouldn't be able to make it, I think. And now we've got Red Snaggletooth. So this character was from the original Star Wars, and famously Kenner accidentally produced a blue tall Snaggletooth, so this one is not full height because Snaggletooth was portrayed by a little person in the film, but Kenner didn't receive enough visual information to know his height and the color of the jumpsuit, so they made a tall blue jumpsuit Snaggletooth with silver boots, and this is the corrected version. So the blue one is quite rare, the red one not so much. So this is just an ordinary figure, but still nice to have nonetheless because it is from the original film. Some paint rubs on the hands exposing that red plastic, but the face looks mostly good. Now we have a Tusken Raider or Sand Person. He doesn't come with the vinyl cape, doesn't come with the gaffy stick, but he's still quite nice. He's got that pantsuit thing going on, as with Ben Kenobi and a lot of the other figures who wore long robes, so that they could articulate their legs. Now his arms and hands are sculpted in a way where they only make sense to hold the weapon up like that, so he'd be holding it above his head like in that one scene, but other than that, if he's just standing normally, he can't really hold his weapon like this, for example, because the wrists don't rotate, so that's an odd choice by Kenner. This one has a lot of paint rubbed off, so paint rubbed off the hand, paint rubbed off this bandolier and the face, but I do still like this. I think it sort of gives it a little bit of weathering, and the wear sort of adds to the character of this figure, and it was also one of the original 12, I believe. Now we have Chewbacca. So this is Chewbacca, one of the first 12 as well, and he's got a little bit of damage on his thumb. So the very tip of his thumb right there looks like it's gone, probably from holding the weapon. So that's unfortunate. I actually have another Chewbacca, and he also has a damaged thumb. So I thought that I would be getting one without a damaged thumb, but I didn't really take a very close look at this lot, like, individually, and the image quality wasn't good enough on eBay for me to see that this had a damaged thumb as well. So that's unfortunate, but I still like him anyway. This one I think has greenish limbs, so it's not the fully green limbs that you'll see on other Chewbaccas like this, but it is slightly a different color from the torso, and it is slightly greenish, so maybe that's where it's headed. Maybe in a few years it'll be a green-limbed Chewbacca. Who knows? I'm not an expert on these matters. This one is slightly sticky like the Hoth Rebel, but the joints feel really nice. I don't know, with the other Chewbacca as well, there's something about how the Chewbacca is made where the joints are always really smooth and they feel really good to move, so I might find a replacement bowcaster for this someday. Just stand him up there. But for now, it's good that I have two Chewbaccas because I want to be able to do a setup for Bespin and also for Jabba's Palace. So, there. Now, we have Bespin Han Solo. I didn't see this in the original eBay listing, but this has what looks like remnants of blue tack in his hand. So at first I thought it was a melted plastic blaster or something, but when I move it around with my nail, it sort of just squishes about, so I think I could remove it. Yeah, it's removable. So I think that's blue tack, probably just to keep a weapon in place. So, well, I'm relieved that it's not something permanent and I can take it off. Now, most of the paint is still intact, aside from that rubbing in the hair. The facial features are intact. The paint on the jacket, the shirt, the belt are all intact. There's a bit of rubbing at the back of the pants there, but you wouldn't really see that if he's standing like that anyway. So I think overall he is in pretty good condition, especially compared to the rest of this lot. So he is one of the better ones in this lot, I believe. So next we have IG-88 or IG-88. He's supposed to come with a weapon, obviously. With all of these, he doesn't come with a weapon. So IG-88 is one of the bounty hunters, and he's a droid. I don't really know what else to say about IG-88. He never really said anything in Empire Strikes Back, so I don't know what else there is to say about it. Now we have Ponda Baba, or Walrus Man, as Kenner called him, and this is a really odd figure, and I didn't really want this. But it's just part of the lot, and I was thinking of doing a complete set, so I would need Ponda Baba anyway. But yes, Walrus Man. So he has these little flippers, and he looks like he's wearing a scuba suit, really, with that orange torso, blue sleeves and blue leggings with green skin. Nothing on this is right from the movie. But I guess that's what makes it interesting, because they got it so wrong. But then again, this is a classic Kenner figure, so I should be happy to have it in my collection, because it is unique in that way. Here we have Lobot. So this is Lando Calrissian's right-hand man, and he's got that implant on his head. The face looks good. The paint at the back of the head seems mostly good. There's some rubbing there. The rest of the body looks pretty clean and shiny. So, I'll just stand him there, and he will look good in a Bespin setup later on. Over here we have the Death Squad Commander. I'm not really into sort of the generic soldier characters, except for the Stormtroopers, but yeah, it is good to have, I guess, for completeness sake. But yeah, he's got some paint rubbing at the back of that helmet, at the front of the helmet as well, but the face is all good. Insignia still looks good, some rubbing on the boots, but everything else seems okay. So I'll just stand him up there. Yeah. Now this is the TIE Fighter pilot. It doesn't have any head articulation because of the sort of tubes that go from his helmet to his chest plate, so that's understandable, I guess. For this one, the insignias on the shoulders look oddly clean. You can't really see this well on camera, but the helmet looks like it was chewed up a bit. So that's unfortunate, because the body is in such good condition that the head looks like it's been chewed up, maybe by a child or a dog, one of those two. Here we've got one of the Endor rebels, and he's got a backpack, which I really like. I don't really know why I like it, but I like that it has a backpack. Some paint rubbing on there. The legs are quite loose. The arms are quite loose as well, so I don't know why this particular one has loose limbs. Stand him up there. Don't want to knock anything over. Now we have the Hoth Snowtrooper, Hoth Stormtrooper, and it's a pretty basic thing, so it's mostly just white, some painted black details there, which all look good. So nothing else to say about that from me. Over here we have Lando Calrissian in his Bespin attire, and he still has his vinyl cape. Now, the seller didn't say if this was a reproduction, so I might just assume that it's original, because the seller didn't say that he had a reproduction cape. And it's the variant without the painted teeth. But yeah, I'm happy to have this because it has the vinyl cape. His facial features are still there, and his hair is sculpted in a really detailed way, so they really wanted to have those curls sculpted in the hair. It's pretty small strands, and that's impressive to me. Now, this is Han Solo in trench coat, but as you can see, he doesn't have the trench coat, so at first I was really confused about which Han this was. I thought at first it was one of the original Star Wars Hans, and I looked closer and it's obviously not. But yeah, it's a pretty good Han Solo sculpt, I say. Much better than the big head Han Solo from the original Star Wars. It's a pretty good sculpt. You can almost say that it sort of resembles Harrison Ford from like 5 feet away, maybe. There's some paint rubbing at the eyebrow area and in the hair. Some paint rubs at the hand as well, but the rest of the body still looks good, and I might find a replacement trench coat for this in the future, maybe the distant future, because I'm not really too concerned about this. I wasn't really a fan of the trench coat to begin with. Now here we've got Chief Chirpa, one of the Ewoks. The hood is on there. It's a rubbery hood, so you could take that off if you wanted to. I'm not going to. So he's got a sculpted belt on, but it's either the paint has rubbed off completely or it was just never painted. Yeah, that's unfortunate. And a lot of the paint on the face has been rubbed off as well. That's fine. I'm not really prioritizing these Ewoks in my collection. Now here we've got one of the medical droids from Empire Strikes Back on Hoth, and apparently he's got a transparent torso there, so the midsection is transparent. He has the standard articulation, but yeah, it's really interesting the way that he's sculpted. Looks pretty metallic to me. They chose the right type of plastic for this look. He's got this thing here, and that's quite detailed as well, considering how small it is. So I'm happy with this one. Now, interestingly, the seller didn't mention that the C-3PO that I was getting was actually detachable limb C-3PO. So I was kind of upset at first because the same day that I ordered this lot, I ordered a 3PO in semi-good condition. And then later on, I bid on this lot and I won it. And it also came with a 3PO, so I thought I'd be getting a double, which I was kind of sad about because I didn't really want a double. But then I realized when it arrived that it is a detachable limb C-3PO from Empire Strikes Back. So his limbs detached like that, and I'm pretty happy with that. It's a pleasant surprise. Now, the left leg peg is a bit loose and it sort of comes off a bit too easily, but it is still intact. The pegs are all intact, and that's good. Unfortunately, it doesn't come with the backpack that would let him sit on Chewbacca's back, but it can easily just make a facsimile of that. And most of his chroming or his gold plating is still there. There's not much chipping that I can see, which is good because a lot of these 3POs have their gold sort of chipped off, and you can see the underlying plastic. So I'm quite lucky that I've got a detachable C-3PO, which I didn't expect, and also that he is still mostly gold. This one was the big surprise of the lot. So in the eBay listing, Ben Kenobi was pictured without a cape and without a lightsaber. And then when I opened up the box, I was really surprised that he was wearing his vinyl cape. Now, I don't know if it's reproduction again, but still it looks good nonetheless. And his lightsaber. And again, I don't know if this is original, but if it is a reproduction, then it's a really good reproduction. So it retracts like that, as it's supposed to. And the cape fits him nicely. Again, he has that articulation there, so his robe is split in the middle. One of the first 12 Star Wars figures, so I'm really happy to have him in my collection. Now this is a standard Stormtrooper. There's a red mark at the back of his armor. I don't know what that is. Probably pen, obviously. But other than that, everything else looks good. I know there are some people who are really huge Stormtrooper fans. I'm not one of them, but I am happy to have this in my collection. It's one of the first 12 as well. And everything seems to be in good order. So the joints are all tight. In fact, this left arm is tighter than I want it to be, but that's fine. So Stormtrooper. Stand him side bend there. And now, the second surprise of this huge lot. Boba Fett. This is Boba Fett. Now, in the listing, it was just him like this. But when he came in the lot, he was in this Ziploc bag, and he came with his weapon. So, Boba Fett has his weapon. Now, again, I don't know if this is reproduction or original, but to me it doesn't matter because he looks good holding it. Now, here is Boba Fett in all his glory. There's that missile, and that does not come out because he's not rocket-firing Boba Fett. But this figure was released through a mail-away program by Kenner, so for that reason, a lot of collectors really prize this Boba Fett despite it not having the rocket firing feature anyway. So just a regular Boba Fett like this can fetch a higher price than the other figures, and I'm really glad that I got it in this lot. So in the end, I sort of just paid like $7 Australian for each of these figures, including Boba Fett. So I feel rather lucky. And his plastic is pretty shiny. The paint as well is pretty shiny. So he's a lot shinier than the other figures, and I find that interesting. And I can imagine how the kids of the late 70s, early 80s felt when they saw this character pop up as a toy without really knowing who he was and sort of mystery around it. So I can understand the obsession with Boba Fett. Now, personally, I'm not as obsessed with Boba Fett as a lot of other fans are, but I do think that this is my favorite figure of this whole lot so far. Okay, that's one bag done, and that's about 25 figures there. So I'll do the rest of them. Now this is Lando Calrissian and Skiff Guard Disguise. So I've already got one of these, but the one I have is complete. So I might just sell this one because he's an extra. There is some paint rubbing on his hands and on his face, but not too bad. And mostly he's in good condition. So I will be selling him at a reasonable price. So let's stand him up there. This is Weequay. I have also got a Weequay, and this one is almost the same condition, so it's in pretty good condition. Not much paint rubbing at all. Looks pretty clean as well. Okay, this is Dengar. So Dengar is one of the bounty hunters, and he's got this huge backpack on his back, which I really like. Again, I don't know what it is about having backpacks on a figure, but I really like it. But there's a lot of paint rubbing on this, so it's not in the best condition. A lot of the paint is gone from the legs, and the face. The face is still there, but there's a lot of stray marks around it. So there's a bit of dirt there that I might have to clean off. But yeah, a lot of paint rubbing on this one. But I'm happy with it anyway. He is a bounty hunter, so just makes him look a bit dirty and battle-worn. This is Klaatu. Now, this Klaatu is in great condition. His skirt piece is still fluffy and thick, unlike my first Klaatu, which had a disintegrating skirt piece. So I'll definitely be replacing that Klaatu with this one, and I'll sell off the old one. But he looks really shiny and new, almost like he came fresh out of the box, which is a pleasant surprise, to say the least. Now, this is General Maydeen. He's one of those characters where I sort of made fun of his name when I was watching it as a kid, General Maydeen, and I didn't really think he was an important character, and I still don't think he's that important a character that they had to make a figure of him. But here's General Maydeen. He mostly looks to be in good condition. There is some rubbing on his nose there, but the rest of him looks clean. The head is pretty tight to turn on this. And I should have been testing the articulation on the other figures, but I just sort of forgot halfway through. But the head is pretty hard to turn. The other joints are fine, though. But yeah, General Maydeen, not my favorite character. But as a figure, he is pretty well made. I'll give them that. Lots of little painted details there on his uniform. This is the other medical droid from Hoth also. And every time I see this, I just remember that old medical droid from the original Battlefront game, Battlefront 2 as well, and he's got this arm, so the arm doesn't move, it's just sort of stuck there, and it's a rubbery material, and his head like pops up and down. I'm not sure what that's supposed to be doing, because I don't think it did that in the film, did it? I don't know, but it's got some little painted lights there, so they don't light up, but they're supposed to be lights in the film, little buttons, and the panels are painted. There's a little bit of paint slop on the black panels here, but I don't mind that. And these arms do extend out, but I'm pretty afraid to stretch them too far because they feel pretty flimsy. So I'm just going to click that back in. But in theory, you'd be able to pop them all out, although I'm not sure what the functionality of that is within the context of the film. But yes, this is an interesting one to have, just because it reminds me so much of the old Battlefront video game. This is Nikto. I have another Nikto, and this one is in pretty much the same condition that that other Nikto is in. Not too bad at all. Not many marks or scuffs or anything like that. Just a slight bit of rubbing, but the face is all good. The paint is still vibrant and clean looking. Now, this is Prune Face. I can't remember his real name. I put it up on the screen, but Kenner called him Prune Face. This one, I will agree that it was a horrible choice of character for a figure, because we don't even know who he is. He doesn't say anything in the film, and his look is really weird. But he is part of the lineup. Now, I'm not sure if there's anything missing from this, aside from he's supposed to have a cape, I believe. There is a lot of paint rubbing on this, and it's Prune Face, so I don't really mind, because I'm not really fond of this character, so I'll just stand him up here and say nothing more about him. Luke Skywalker as a Jedi Knight. This one has got really loose limbs, which is a real shame because I would have liked to pose him in various action poses. So he's missing his lightsaber and his cape. There's lots of rubbing on the hand, and that reveals the black plastic underneath. There's lots of rubbing on the face, which also reveals a darker plastic underneath, so it doesn't look very attractive at all. Now, fortunately, I've already ordered another Luke Skywalker Jedi Knight figure in better condition, and that's on the way. It should take a few more days to get here, so I don't really need this anymore, and I can sell this one off. I find it really odd that the Luke Skywalker Jedi Knight figure has such wide shoulders, such broad shoulders, a wide head, and a wide body, so it makes him look really boxy. Whereas the other Luke figures were really slim, so I don't understand why they went that route with this, but I guess that's just how it is. Hit or miss, really. I'll just do these two Ewoks at once. So these are Ewoks, and I don't remember their names, and they don't come with their hoods, so that makes it even harder to identify them. But they look to be in good condition, unlike Chief Chirpa, who is in worse condition, but these are in good condition. There's not much rubbing on this at all. I don't see any paint rubs on this. So. This is the AT-AT driver, I believe. There is some paint rubbing at the seat of his pants, some paint rubbing on the hands. The helmet itself still looks good, and the control panel still looks good. The legs are kind of loose, but not loose enough that you wouldn't be able to stand. Still fine to me. Not as loose as the Luke Jedi Knight figure. Now, this is the AT-AT Commander, and again, I'm not really a fan of these generic Rebels and Empire characters because they're not interesting to me, but a lot of other people like to collect these. This one looks to be in remarkably good condition, like with a couple of the ones in this lot. So most of them are okay, but a few of them have been in really good condition, and this is one of them. So the insignia looks quite bright and neat. The face looks like it was painted yesterday. Yeah, everything looks good here. Okay, now this is a biker scout, scout trooper, whatever you want to call it. There is some red marking on the front of the helmet. I don't know if you can see that on camera. I don't know what it is about this particular figure, but it looks like there's a lot of slop in the paint here. I don't know if you can see that on camera, but there's a lot of going beyond the lines in this scout trooper. So that's alright. I'm not too concerned about that. But this will make a good adversary for some Ewoks and Rebels if I were to do an Endor setup. Here we have the Death Star droid, and there's a lot of chrome rubbed off here. So you can see a lot of that translucent, beigeish, off-white, ivory, whatever, plastic underneath. Toypoloid did a video where he used a chrome pen to sort of repair that damaged chrome, but it took him months to let the ink dry off, so I don't think I have the patience to do that. And this one has pretty loose limbs, very, very loose limbs. I don't even know if this can stand up properly without falling over. Again, one of those side characters that I didn't really notice. He does look like 3PO from afar, though, if you're not paying attention, because some of their pieces are quite similar, or the same. They might have reused the pieces. Now, this is a Bespin guard, or Bespin officer, somebody from Bespin. This one has some rubbing on the hands, but other than that, it's in pretty good condition. Looks shiny. Nothing else to say about this one. It looks pretty clean. Here we have a Gamorrean guard. I already have a Gamorrean guard, but I think I would like to have two, so I won't sell this one off. Some rubbing there at the sides of his sandal. Okay, now while I was adjusting the camera, I knocked over these figures like dominoes, which I knew would happen at some point, but I'm just... it's too late into the video to readjust all of those. Now, the other big surprise of this lot is this Darth Vader with lightsaber and cape. So in the listing, in the original listing, he did not come with a cape and he did not come with a lightsaber. So I don't understand what this seller is thinking, not telling people that there are extra goodies in his lot. But yeah, that lightsaber retracts and extends as it should, and you can also remove it if you'd like to, and it comes with that vinyl cape. So this is one of the first 12 Star Wars figures, another one to add to my collection, and I'm really happy with this one. I really find the cape design and the saber design quite odd. I don't know why they went with these designs, but yeah, it's a classic design, so can't really complain. Here we have Luke from Bespin, Luke in his Bespin fatigues. And there's very minimal paint rubbing. There's maybe a small speck there. The face still looks pretty good. The hair is still that lemon-haired color. I would like it if he had the lightsaber, but that's something for a later date. But yeah, this might be one of my favorites from this lot, so not just because of the excellent condition, but the figure design. I really like this design. Here we have Nien Nunb, or Nien Nunb, how to say his name. And this one is pretty detailed, so he's got those wrinkles in his face as he should. He's got a lot of sculpted wrinkles in his jumpsuit. He's got that detail in the helmet or hat or cap, whatever that is. And this is in pretty good condition. Not much paint rubbing on here at all, so it is mostly pristine. And here we have the Emperor himself, Emperor Palpatine, although they didn't really say the name Palpatine in the original trilogy, but it is in the script apparently. And he has that split down the middle of the robe again, so he can articulate his legs. I don't really get why he would need to. That's fine. He's got some paint rubbing in his hands. The face looks mostly good. There's a bit of rubbing off the nose, but you can just touch those up anyway. I would like it if he had the cane, but he looks fine without it. He only used the cane for one scene, really, and never used it again. So that's fine. And I've got a collection of Darth Sidious Palpatine figures. In fact, a lot of my figures, maybe almost half of my figures in my 3 3/4 inch Hasbro collection are just different variations of Palpatine. Having the original Palpatine figure does feel like coming full circle in terms of my Palpatine collection. So, sorry, I shouldn't call him Palpatine, just call him the Emperor, because that's how he was known. Okay, here we have Admiral Ackbar, who famously became a meme in recent times, so let's not talk about that. But yeah, I would have liked if they had some of the darker spots painted in, considering they painted spots on their size noodles. But yeah, there's a lot of good sculpted detail in here. Looks pretty spot on to the character. There's a lot of sculpted detail in his pants as well. Looks very, very 80s. This jumpsuit with those yellow stripes on the side almost looks like a member of ABBA. I don't know, probably shouldn't say that. But yes, Admiral Ackbar. Tact. There is some dirt or staining on this, but that's not Kenner's fault. That's just from age and play. One more figure here, which is the Emperor's Royal Guard. It's supposed to come with his staff, but there. He has his cape, and he has an inner robe as well. And under that, he's got a sculpted body. What looks to be the same mold as Darth Vader's legs. Yeah, the fabric has stayed in good condition over time. It's still pretty soft, velvety. No signs of it crumbling or withering away very soon. So just stand that up there. Now I'm going to try to stand all these up again so I can take one big photo of these figures. Now, if you're wondering what the 49th figure was, it's actually this Ree-Yeez, and I accidentally left him in the box. So I'll just show it to you now. And he's got some paint rubs on his hands like that. So he's not in the best condition. My other Ree-Yeez is in a lot better condition than this one. So I will be selling this. But I thought I might as well just show you something else as well that I got in the mail. But here we have Leia in her Bossk disguise, or Boushh. Never actually heard it pronounced before, so I don't know how you say it. But she is a complete figure. So there is Leia's face. So that helmet just fits on her head like so. And she has her little weapon here, which fits nicely in her hand. Like that. You can see this fabric part is sculpted, a lot of lines going back there that really suggest a lot of flow in the fabric, so that is quite nice. I'm really happy with this figure. It's just a bit of paint rubbing on her hair, which I guess is to be expected because this is a removable helmet figure, so of course it would have some rubbing in the hair, but the face itself still has all the facial features intact, so I'm really happy about this figure. Yes, this is my lot of 49. Now some of them are sort of at the edges of the camera, just because I couldn't fit everything in properly. But yes, this is my lot of 49, and I'm overall really happy with this. I got a really good deal for this, so I ended up paying about $7 Australian each figure. Really great considering that I have a few pristine characters in here, and I have some interesting things like Ben's lightsaber, Vader's lightsaber, vinyl capes, Boba Fett and his weapon, that's a really good one. C-3PO with detachable limbs as well. So I'm really happy with this purchase. I don't regret it at all. It did cost me a fair bit of money, but then for 49 figures at $7 each, who can complain? Yeah, this really went a long way to me completing a full set of Star Wars figures. Obviously, overall, I've been surprised by the quality of the sculpting and the paint and the detail in these figures. I've also been perplexed by the choice of characters in some of these figures, like Prune face, and being confused about some of the odd designs, like the vinyl cape with that weird shape, and the lightsaber with the small end that looks like a deflated balloon. Yeah, these are classic figures, and I'm really, really happy to have them in my collection. I feel like I've progressed really quickly with this collection, so I started collecting vintage Star Wars about 3 weeks ago. And I've just had orders coming in every few days, and it's been pretty exciting. And I've been joining communities of Star Wars collectors, so that's been really fun for the past few weeks to get to sort of learn more about these figures and the history of the figures. Alright, thank you to everyone who stuck with me through that really long video. Yes, that was the most number of figures I've ever ordered in one go. And I'm pretty pleased with the value I got for them. And I really like the assortment of characters that I got. Still looking for a few more figures, so I've got about 50 more to go technically, but the ones that I really want now are the original Luke, Tatooine Luke, Yoda, Hoth Leia, and Hoth Luke, and the Ugnaught. The others aren't on the top of my priority list right now, but it would be nice to have a complete set at one point in my life. So that's all I have to say for these 49 figures. I didn't really go in depth into each of them because there were so many, but I hope you found this interesting anyway. So, thank you. I'll see you next time. Bye.